What do you want to achieve? Can you see it? Can you taste it? Can you feel it? Have you touched that particular dream? And if you have, how bad do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice? And if you're not willing to leave it on the line, lose everything in the pursuit of that, then friends, it will not come true.
And if we get diverted by all the noise that's around us, which is only going to continue to get more, faster, deeper, that we have to sift through, when we can find those people who are asking about us, that's our reminder, isn't it? Oh, people want the best for us. I want the best for people. Who am I reaching out to? And really leverage those connections. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. At the Bold Business Podcast, we are normalizing important conversations. Yes, there are tips. Yes, there are ways to solve problems. More importantly, are going to be, what do you need for yourself to be able to solve those problems and make the most of the education, the training, and the programs that you are already using. This is a supplement to that. It can sit on top of it, fuel your soul, fuel your mind, and most importantly, regardless of where you're at on your journey, maybe you're starting out, maybe you're ready to scale, maybe you're going through reinvention. The conversations we are having will help you at each of those stages. So hang around, see what's going on, and I look forward to seeing you engaging with our videos.
You are listening to the Bold Business Podcast, where you will hear firsthand experiences about what it really takes to ensure market relevance and your company's future.
The way we view our challenges impacts our success. And I say that, and you can hear that, and you're like, what do you actually mean, Jess? I'm really glad about this conversation that I had with Justin Goodbread. He is a renowned entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Financially Simple. He started his entrepreneurial at just 15 years of age, learned business from his parents, and has sold his last business for over $10 million in 49 months. I have to tell you, people on journeys like this are the ones I love to bring you, not only because I can totally relate directly, but also because every single experience has its own uniqueness. This is the part that I want to make sure I set you up for with Justin. When we were talking about the importance of not lying to yourself and being clear about the goals that you have and staying true to them. And I asked Justin, what was a time that he did not follow that advice he shared, and how did it show up and come back full circle and get him adjusted back to the path he wanted? Also, we talked about starting a business, growing a business, scaling a business, and then how hard it is to actually get out of the business, to be not the center anymore, and what that really means and how it shows up. And that this is interesting because the journey amongst everybody he's talked to and his experiences, my experiences, and all the people that I've talked to is very similar. And the third thing I'm going to just point out now, in addition to all of the stories that you will hear and the nuggets of wisdom that we have, is that when you aim small, you miss small. Being hyper focused on just one thing, if that's all you can do is just one thing, will be the point, will be the turning point, that catalyst for the next one thing and the next one thing. So disciplined and hyper focused, aim small, miss small. I'm super excited that Justin, who is also a 2 times best-selling author, is sharing these insights and having this conversation with me about challenges and how to view them differently. You had mentioned 5 things that are also very big areas that we can grow. Will you just jump in and let's start right there? What are those 5, the 5 F's that you call them?
Yeah, I believe there is 5 F's as faith, family, friends, fitness, finances. Now, what's interesting about that is we will all rank those differently. That's my ranking in a hierarchical type chart. I believe my faith funds everything else that I do. But then what good is my finance if I don't have my family beside me? Or what good is my finance if I can't deal with my friends and enjoy my friends? Or what good is my finances if I don't have my fitness? So I view those as the 5 pillars of everything I make a decision around.
So the bottom one, the foundation is faith.
Faith,
What's the
faith.
top one?
Finances, because money is infinite. We can always make more money, always make more money. I believe that with all my heart. But our faith is really who we are. That's who we are when the dark, when the curtains are closed. That's who we are is going to get us through the storms of life, whether that be turmoil with our family, with our friends, with our health. Like my wife and I, the health experiences we dealt with, our faith is going to get you through that. And finally, the faith is ultimately going to be what's going to sustain you upon your journey to that vision, right? So your faith is the foundation for everything.
Let's talk about that for a minute because I know we all have who we are when the lights turn off, who we are behind closed doors, who we are when no one is looking is a pretty big part. And some of that is I'm going to just throw in like nature and nurture. I believe it's way more complicated than that. But I'm thinking about this because when you said, we can always make more money, that's at the top. That's not a big deal. But who we are really matters. What happens when there are foundation breakages or cracks that we aren't being who we are?
We may use the term like masquerade, or we may hide behind not being authentic, whatever the term is within our different vocabularies. The way I couch it is in this journey. I believe that each of us are on a divine appointment. I believe that each of us are uniquely and wonderfully made. I believe that you, Jess, and I have different skill sets. We have different opportunities. We have different struggles. We have different life experiences, both past and present and future. And along each of our journeys, there's something that only we can do. And this comes from not only my faith, but also comes from having family members commit suicide, close family members commit suicide because they gave up and they didn't see their journey they're on. So I have this hard belief in my life that we are uniquely and wonderfully made. And ultimately, I say it this way: I say that God is preparing us for what He's prepared for us. I believe that each thing that we struggle with, each challenge, each victory ultimately wraps the package. And the package is there to help us pursue that particular calling or that pathway. Now, to your exact question, with that framework, whenever we face trouble, oftentimes we are less than authentic. Oftentimes we are concerned about perhaps what is my family going to say, or what is my kids going to say, what are my clients going to say if I step out into this way I truly believe. What is the world going to say? And I guess I've reached the point through maturity. Maybe it's through my own bullheadedness. At the end of the day, I'm not in competition against anybody else. I'm in competition against Justin Goodbread yesterday. And tomorrow I'm in competition against Justin Goodbread today. And every day along this journey that I'm on, my job is to make sure I'm pressing to that mark that I have in front of me, that calling that I believe I have on my life. And I can't do so if I'm doing what my mom used to say, the 11th commandment. She said, son, don't commit the 11th commandment. We all know there's 10 commandments and we all see that kind of through our society. But the 11th one is fool not thyself, or don't lie to yourself. So whenever we are not truly authentic to ourselves, what we end up doing is chiseling away at the very thing which we know we are. And we end up becoming recluse, and we end up becoming less than desirable, and become almost like, as what scripture says, salt lost its savor. It's not good for anything. We've basically become useless.
What's a time in your life that stands out to this day where you lied to yourself and it caught up with you?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm gonna be really authentic here. I've never been asked that before. So the question is, what's a time in my life that I've lied to myself and it caught up with me? So at the age of 16, my mom and dad, who were raised very poor in South Georgia, in the country of South Georgia, very humble beginnings, they had this desire to see their children excel farther than whatever they excelled in. They just had a desire that every parents have. And so they decided they were going to homeschool us back whenever homeschooling didn't exist in the United States. So this is back in the 80s and 90s, back in whenever we're really old back then. And
I gotcha.
I
I
mean, we're
get it.
about
Yes,
pre-internet and cell phones.
pre-internet.
As my kids said, Dad, were there dinosaurs still walking around? Yes, son, there were dinosaurs walking around then. So yeah, it's pretty funny. But no, back then they wanted us to do something differently. So they raised us to be business owners. And I launched a business at the age of 15, made a lot of money, made a lot of success. Was actually my brother and I both were making more income than my mom and dad combined at the age of 17. We were doing well in business. And then I remember going to college at a high school, and I had a teacher tell me that I'm dumb as a box of rocks. Literally, because I can't spell worth a flip. I can't even spell the word flip. Just know this, friends. You ask me to spell anything, it's so bad that spell check don't even know how to help me. Like I got to get the voice thing out and say, I want to say this word. And then my Southern accent, he doesn't understand me half the time. So I'm really up the creek without a paddle. So here I am. She told me I'm dumb as a box of rocks, but mom and dad taught us the power of knowledge and the power of advice and coaching. And so I remember sitting at a Zig Ziglar conference, Jess, whenever I was about the age of 20. Zig Ziglar is one of my heroes, had the privilege of sitting in a small room with about 400 people. And he challenged me. He challenged us in the audience. He said, I'd like for you to write down your wildest dreams. What do you want to accomplish in 20 years? Now, here I am at the age of 20. I'm like, okay, I'll be 40 20 years from now. What do I want? Now, the very first thing I want is I want a smoking hot wife and a beautiful family. Cool. That's number one on the list, right? What American guy does not want that? So then the second thing I said was, you know what? My teacher just told me the dumbest box of rocks. I want to write a New York Times bestseller by the time I'm 40. Cool. And the third thing, and Zig Ziglar's writing through this. He said, and I want your last one to be so wild that it scares you. Now, what do most 20-year-olds think about? To me, I'm already a business guy making a lot of money. I'm like, you know what? I want to have a net worth more than $10 million. That was just the wildest thing I could think of at the age of 20. Now let's fast forward to your answer. Here I'm at the age of 36, and I'd already sold a couple of businesses. I'm in the world of finance. I now have these titles, and I'm identifying myself as these crazy titles, like a certified financial planner and this certified value growth advisor. I'm this guy that everybody should be beholding to because I have all this vast knowledge, except that I forgot that story and that mission that I had at 20, that vision, that little glimpse of what could it be like. And those are my three things. Now, as we age, obviously we add a little bit more substance to that, but at 20, who knows anything at 20 years old? So here what I found is, Jess, is that at the age of 36, an epiphany happened with a friend of mine on a hilltop in West Virginia, beautiful vistage. And he makes a statement. He said, Justin, I'm broke. This was a second generation business owner who had been in business, he and his family, for 60 years. And he literally, his view of himself was he's broke. Now, he wasn't. But instantly when he said that, my mind went back to Zig Ziglar. And I went, holy cow. The last 16 years of my life, I've gotten off of what I said I wanted to do at 20. Did I lie to myself then, or was I just totally off the mark? Within the next 4 years, I already have my wife and my children are beautiful there. We got married whenever I was 24. So she came in my life. She's the best thing since sliced bread in my family. She is everything to me. But I had not written anything. I had not written anything down. From the age of 36 to the age of 40, I wrote 2 books. One ended up being a number one Wall Street Journal bestseller. One sold over 1 million copies around the world. Pretty amazing. And then the status that I wanted, the decamillionaire status, was pretty amazing to see. I didn't dream that a country boy born and raised on a dirt road with parents who grew up in houses that had newspapers on the walls and had outhouses and didn't have a college education, that somebody dumb as a box of rocks could achieve some of the wildest dreams that I had. But it took literally for me to quit lying to myself that, hey, God created me for something much more than what I was doing at that particular time in my life. And when I became authentic and raw with myself, Jess, my future, not only the three things I'm talking about, but everything else radically changed.
Your past self was awesome. Go Zig Ziglar for helping you tap into that.
Hey. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. I thrive on your feedback and engagement. You're listening to the Bold Business Podcast, and I'm your host, Jess Dewell. This is your program for strategizing long-term success while diving deep into what the right work is for your business right now.
You're listening to the Bold Business Podcast, hosted by Jess Dewell, a nationally recognized strategic growth consultant. She works with business owners and executives to integrate just 2 elements that guide business through the ups and downs of growth. Number 1, know what work is necessary. Number 2, do all the work possible. Schedule a complimentary consultation to find out more at reddirection.com.
Hey.
I do believe that people show up in our lives, not only for us to help them, but for them to help us at the same time. And it sounds like this business owner friend who came to you and said, this is actually going on in my life, not only helped you help them, but also helped you help yourself again as well.
He did. More importantly, he stepped in as my dad. My father passed away unexpectedly at the age of 62. And here I am as a young father with 3 kids at home, going as a business owner, running a dynamic business, having a lot of success in life, very successful in the world's views, but empty, not fulfilling the position. And the reason why we're on that mountaintop was ultimately hunt turkeys, because I'm a country boy at heart. I love the woods. I love getting in God's creation. We were there to hunt turkeys. But when he made that 3 words, Justin, I'm broke, what happened in that moment was, I believe, it was a divine appointment. Number 2 is it changed my life. But number 3, it changed his life. Because then what happens is that that story, as we're reflecting on that mountaintop, we forgot about the turkeys we were after, as we call them, thunder chickens here in the South. We forgot about all of them out there in the woods. And now we're sitting here as friends, as a gentleman who's about 20 years older than me, as like a father figure who's mentoring me, and he's speaking truth into my life. And he basically came to this point as we're sitting on the little side by side, the off-road vehicle that we had ridden. He says, so Justin, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go hire me a coach, somebody who's been there, done that, what I want to accomplish, that I'm going to listen to them and they can challenge me and break all my syntaxes, my bad habits, and really refine who I am and bring the very best Justin out to accomplish these three things. And he's okay. If you go do that, then whatever he teaches you, you teach me. And so what I began doing is he paid me a little bit of money. I paid $10,000 a month for my coach, a lot of money to my coach, who was extremely successful. And he spoke into my life. And as he began teaching me, I began talking to my friend. And now what transpired was I began talking to thousands of people around these principles. And not only did his life change and he reached financial freedom within a 4-year period, but so now I have hundreds of people just safely taking these principles from an old country boy, an old country man who accomplished some wisdom and apply it to our businesses. But more importantly, Jess, I believe that we are being equipped, we're being prepared for what we're prepared for. And the last 30 years as a business owner, all the struggles, lost miscarriages with my wife, third trimester miscarriages, family members committing suicide, lawsuits, a near bankruptcy experience, hardships. And we'll talk, my wife almost dying in the hospital, hard things throughout all this undertone was, you know what, there's this mission I'm on, and it's not to reach those three little statuses. It's not that. Now, whenever I sit back, I look back and I'm like, everything I've gone through is for one purpose. And that is so I can turn around and say, hey, friends, if this country boy, born and raised on a dirt road in South Georgia, who didn't like wearing shoes and still don't like wearing shoes and can't spell worth a flip, if I can accomplish my wildest 20-year-old dreams and I can get through all that with the help of counsel and wisdom and faith, then now as I look forward to the future and the bigger dreams, the bigger visions, the bigger goals that I now set for myself, that's nothing. And if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not special.
When you were talking about learning from each other and the three things of winning, and now what you were talking about with the ripple effect, I actually call that winfinity,
You
Justin.
saw what? I'm
It is-
sorry.
It's called winfinity. You win, the person you're connecting with wins, and then the ripples that are created allows more people to win, and they didn't even know. They may never know about that connection, that interaction, that friendship, mentorship, family ship, if you will, business ship. And that's what I hear you talking about is just the, hey, we're not alone if we're willing to open our eyes.
And it's opening your eyes, it's realizing that that there are people in your lives, whether that's family, friends, whether that's a customer, that's a vendor, there's people around you that you're surrounded with that want the very best for you. They do. I have customers that ask me consistently about my companies, hey, how are the companies? What can we do to help you? Because they genuinely want to see us succeed. It was saying, you know what? I realize I'm tenacious and I realize I'm capable and I've never been a problem that I can't solve. I realize who I am. I realize the way God's designed me. I'm a driver, I'm a pusher, but I can't do this by myself. I've got to have my family and my friends and my fitness and my faith. And I got to have my coaches pouring into me. And I got to have all these people helping me grasp this vision and get this, stretch it because people see more in us than we see in ourselves.
Yes. And in a world where it's always really busy and everybody's running and everybody has big things going on, those people that stop and ask are the people that are meant to be. That's who's surrounding you. Who are the people that are in your life? Where are the clues coming from so that you could become, you were 20, you made these goals. By the time you were 40, you wanted them and you reconnected with those. But guess what? To get to what Zig Ziglar had you write on that piece of paper, you're a whole different person now. You had to become somebody. And that I think is the biggest takeaway is that being able to turn around and help the people that are on a path similar to yours, expecting experiences that you can help them avoid, right? Or experiences that you can help them double down and take more advantage than you realized at the time when you experienced it. And I think that's a huge win. And it's part of business for sure, but it's also part of our community that I feel is making a resurgence. If we get diverted by all the noise that's around us, which is only going to continue to get more, faster, deeper that we have to sift through, when we can find those people who are asking about us, oh, people want the best for us. I want the best for people. Who am I reaching out to? And really leverage those connections.
I think you're exactly right there. And I would take it one step further for me personally, the way I view things now. And that is this, that I believe that God has created each of us for what he's created us for. Two-thirds of the world believe there's a higher power. There's a God. You may put a name on it somewhere, but I believe God's ultimately equipped us, whatever you want to put there. But I also believe that in that calling, that it's up to us. Actually, let me say it this way. I believe with that calling is ours, and the only way we're not going to achieve that calling is if we give in. So some might say there's an enemy. There's an enemy out there. That enemy's job is to try to cloud that calling. That enemy job is to try to disrupt that calling. The enemy's job is to try to deflect us and discourage us, to dilute our focus, to get us where we're focused on everything else, even ourselves, so much so that we lose sight of that vision, that burning desire, if you will, that calling that we have in our life. So there's this calling that we should be pursuing. Some of us don't know exactly what it is, but it's discovered as you walk in this path, this toil that we have. You'll discover it. And as you discover it, it's up to you not to reach that calling. So what I firmly believe now, after 30 years of in business and literally talking to thousands of business owners and thousands of very successful people from various, not just money, but a number of different things, is it comes down to a simple concept. Henry Ford said it. My dad used to say it 1,000 times. He said, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. Scripture says, as you think, so you are. Right. So I firmly believe that where we, myself, I'm going to talk to me, where I often miss the best life that God has designed for me is whenever I take my eyes offwards and internalize it and point them to myself versus saying, here's the calling and here's who I'm trying to connect to that calling. I'm here to try to serve people on this journey. The minute I start reflecting internal about I'm not equipped or I'm not capable, that's whenever I seem personally to get off this pathway, that I'm trying so everly focused to stay step by step on that line. And whenever I start reflecting and thinking about I mentally can't handle this, or my subconscious has a seed of doubt or discord or discontentment or whatever it may be inside there, I now start casting my eyes off of it. So we're after 30 years, after 7 businesses, after many different things happening, I believe with all my heart now that the victory is out there. The journey is beautiful. And it's up to us to guard our minds to make sure that the enemy, the distractions, whatever you put there, doesn't derail us from reaching that ultimate destination.
My view is slightly different in the how we get to this body piece and how we show up in the world. You and I are very aligned. I actually think my soul chose what I want to do to be here, and I told somebody, and they're helping me stay on that path from some other place. And I think that okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk because earlier you had said your own ego is your enemy, and I think you reiterated that right here. So, what are some of the skills that you have learned that you can say, hey, looking back, and I say skills, maybe they're traits you had to acquire. So, what are a few of the things that you had to become to be who you are today that require skill and trait development of sort?
Most successful business owners are very capable. They're very capable at almost everything in their company, especially if they're the founding member of their company. They've learned how to clean the toilets, to run on the payroll, to doing whatever because they had to. Money wasn't there. And that very tenacity, that skill set, that always wanting to learn desire that we have as business owners or even as humans, it ends up being our Achilles heel. And so for me, and as I now coach business owners on how they can rapidly grow the value of their companies, what we end up having to do is swallow our pride and say, yes, I know that I can do this, whatever this is, but I need to relinquish control of this and give authority and responsibility to somebody else for them to handle this particular task. And I've got to be willing for them to mess up. I've got to be willing for them to struggle in order for me to move forward. So here's a real life situation that you will get some laughter out of. My coach was challenging me. He said, Goodbread, you know how to sell, man. You can sell your ice to an Eskimos. He said in his terms, right? You can sell it. And he goes, but I don't want you selling any new prospects on the position of your company. We had a 3 companies together as one, a financial firm, a business consulting firm, and a media firm. So I said, okay. So then we worked for about 3 months building an entire structure around the sales process, all the cadence I use, the nomenclature, the syntaxes, all those things that we teach our students and our clients in our coaching program. And the day came where I was going to release. Yes, okay, the next client that calls in, this prospect who comes through the funnel, they get on the call, I'm not going to be there. So I've been working with my team. Lo and behold, prospect comes at this point. It's the biggest prospect that's ever called into the company. We're talking mid 6 figures of revenue. Like it could pay 3 or 4 people's salaries. And what did I want to do? I want to step back in because I know I can close the deal. And I could because I'm capable, just so many business owners. And literally the sales guys on the call, you're going to let, this is so funny. I laugh at myself now because how stupid I am many times. So the sales guy's on the call and he's talking to him. And I am literally sitting. Imagine this. I'm the CEO of a company, good, big company. And I'm on the floor with a little short 8x12 whiteboard with a magic erase board in front of me that I'm writing him as he's asking questions. I'm writing the answers to it because I didn't trust my own training. And my sales guy looked at me. He's watching me as I'm trying to help him, give him guiding points. And he literally turns his chair away from me and faces the opposite direction. He closes the client. Greg Gage ended up being one of the best clients of our firm. Still to this day, that company still works with him. He turns around and I saw anger in his eyes. Like he looked at me with like razor daggers in my eyes. He looked at me and he said, if you ever do that again, if you ever doubt my competence, my resignation will follow. Okay, now here I am full of pride, full of ego, because I'm like, dude, I wanted to say, I'm the one who trained you how to do that. I'm the one who put the system in place. I'm the one who made the guy come to it. It's all me. And I went, you're right. I'm sorry. That's on me, dude. That's on me. And it will never happen again. Thank you for calling me to the table. Thank you for helping me move past this point. Thank you for just caring enough about me that you see a bigger mission for my life in this particular area right now. That's a swallow the ego pride, but business owners have to do that on a regular basis throughout all their company if they're going to decentralize themselves and move their business to where it's a lucrative business they can exit.
I have not fully learned it yet. Have you fully been able to let go? Because I have not yet. I every once in a while I'm like, "Oh, that's a place," and take a step back. And so it's a conscious choice on a regular basis to go, "Oh yeah, they don't need me here. Oh, I know they've got that because that's why they're here."
It depends on where you're at in the system, to be honest with you. So, like, it's in our new coaching company. I've created 6 companies now. I know how to scale them and sell them for millions of dollars if I wanted to. My team has never done that before. So I find myself teaching. I'll give you another real life example. We hired an employee that it just wasn't right. I wanted my team to make the decision. We put the parameters in place. They never hired anybody before. Okay. So I allowed them to hire somebody. It cost me about $25,000 of my money. The person was not the right fit. I wanted so bad not to hire them, but I wanted them to learn through that pain of, okay, we've got the wrong culture and the wrong seat and it's not going to work. And then they're trying to vacillate like I've done many times in my career, trying to figure out where do I keep them? Do I let them go? Maybe I need to shift them here. And ultimately, I've actually put an envelope in place and sealed it and sent it to my team. I said, you should not hire this person. You should fire him immediately. Boom. Put it in data. I just said, whenever you're ready, you'll see what's in this envelope. I want you to open it, but not until you're ready to deal with this person. So what I've learned now is I'm willing to spend a little bit of money to train my team so that I can have freedom. But that has taken me 30 freaking years.
That's the point, isn't it? It's, hey, you can do it, but step back. And to your point, how do you cultivate the knowledge and allow them to step up to the knowledge that you have been pouring into them?
You've got to look at it as an investment, especially if you're trying to scale a company. We know that the companies who are going to bring the highest value in the marketplace and give the owner the ultimate freedom and provide the highest income and everything that we business owners desire, which will be left out into our companies. We know that in order for that to transpire, we have to remove ourselves from the epicenter of the business, which means that business has to operate autonomously without us as the owners. We also have to move ourselves from the founder to a shareholder. In order to do that, it relies on complete relinquishing of trust. Now, the emotions involved is that business is like a baby. Harvard's done a lot of studies on this that shows that for us as business owners, our business is like a third child or a fourth child. And so there's an emotional disconnect, almost like trying to disinherit a child. It's hard, but we have to look at the journey that we're on and keep it in context. And I didn't learn this until my coach said, okay, you want to scale a company, you want to reach decamillionaire status in 4 years' time, dude, you're going to have to do something you've never done before. You're going to have to break the cycle and put faith in a team, build systems, and then step back and deal with all the consequences. Are you willing to go bankrupt over this? That was his question to me. And I went, we already had some significant wealth at that point. I'm like, well, yeah. He said, okay, great. The minute you may say that statement, the next thing you're going to face is resistance. The next very thing you're going to face is turmoil. The next thing you're going to face is self-doubt. So as my coach is coaching me through these emotions, it wasn't that of self-reflecting. I'm not that smart. I had somebody who was much smarter than me who could see, I ought to say, if I'm in the jar, I can't read the label. He can read the label and see the contents of the jar. And so he was able to talk to me and say, hey, Goodbread, let me mold you over this period of time. Cost me $400,000 of coaching fees over a 4-year period. Expensive. The results, magnificent. But in that journey was somebody, not me and myself, saying, hey, if you want to achieve this, you've got to let go. And it's because one of the biggest, hardest lessons I had to do, my pride almost kept me from experiencing this, is that I have to be willing to be scolded and coached and reprimanded and take all the blame and give all the reward away to my team so that I can achieve the goal of the mission I'm on. That is a swallowing of pride.
And where else do we do that in our lives? With our spouses, with our children. And in fact, what do you call the turkeys
Thunder
that you
chickens. Thunder
what are
chickens.
thunder chickens? Okay, so thunder chickens, I was thinking about this. What do they do? Are they like other birds where if you're in a songbird, I watch them where I'm at, I get to see songbirds, not thunder chickens, and they kick their babies out of the nest to learn to fly. Doesn't matter, male and female, they're kicking those little babies out of the nest because they've got to learn. And we somehow forget to do that with our business, even though it's all around us in nature. We do it with our spouses. We have to show up. We have to swallow our pride. We have to show up and say, hey, we were wrong. We have to show up and go, yeah, I'm so glad you got this because I thought I needed to and I don't know anything about this. And we do that on a regular in partnership in business also. It's why we're surrounded, being better than ourselves. I'm not sure how that relates to the fitness one. I was trying to tie it back to all your F's. I got most of them, Justin, but not all of them in that.
The fitness thing for me is that to me it's a discipline, right? And so in business, we have to be disciplined to relinquish. We have to be disciplined to press through, even then whenever the storms are around us, economic or whatever the storm is. We have to be disciplined to our vision. We have to be disciplined to so much. And so for me personally, this is not an attack on anybody. This is the way I view things. That if I'm not disciplined to myself first, if I'm lying to myself first in the journey that I have, and if I'm not presenting myself to myself as the very best it can be, then every other part of my company, my life, my family, my friends is going to wane in authenticity. I'm not only lying to myself and what I desire, I'm going to actually have undertones that I don't want those seeds of negativity. So for me, I want to be physically able to be able to, at the age of 80, to go Rocky Mountain elk hunting, which is stinking hard to do. You're at 12,000 foot with 30, 40, 50 pounds on your back, hiking 15, 20 miles a day at altitude, coming from about 800 feet to move to the altitude, you're sucking air. I want to be 80 years old and be able to do that. I want to be 80 years old and be able to, like my stepdad did, jump off a 40-foot bridge at the age of 76 and laugh and have a time of his life with his grandkids. Regardless of all the other F's in my life, the family, the friends, the finances, and all this stuff, I want to be able to say, this is what I physically want to do. Now, not only physically, but I also have the mental capacity, right? I want to stay sharp. We have Alzheimer's in our family, and I've had to study a lot of things around how do I keep my mind sharp? What do I do differently than society is doing? So for me, my fitness is like the airplane analogy we've all used probably to put your mask on yourself before you put it on a kid. Why? Because if I'm lying to myself, I'm not taking care of myself, then what, this is the way I think to myself, the way I talk to myself. What if I can't treat me with the utmost respect, do I have to treat you with the utmost respect? I'm hypocritical in that. And I just reached a point in my life, Jess, where I'm just tired of wearing a masquerade. I'm tired of being a hypocrite. I want to be the same person every stinking day of the week to my family, my friends, that they know whenever Justin Goodbread shows up, this is what he's going to say. This is what he's going to do. Here's how he's going to present himself. And what I've experienced is, since that harmony came in my life, that balance, if you will, around those areas, even the clientele can see it. I don't have to sell them hard. I have a coaching client who calls me and says, hey, Goodbread, how'd you do it? Here's what I did. By the way, we're going to have you working out. We're going to have you eating right. We're going to have you doing this. Okay, what's it going to take? I really want what I call relentless execution. We want to be relentless in the pursuit of our goal. We want to abandon all types of safety. We want to charge hell with a water pistol. That is whenever you're living your biggest and your best self.
I'm your host, Jess Dewell, and we're getting down to business on the Bold Business Podcast. This is where we're tackling the challenges that matter most to you with actionable and achievable advice to get real results that lead to your success. Don't forget, press that bell icon so you never miss a program. And it's time to subscribe as well.
Focused on growth? Listen to more programs like this which support the challenges and opportunities you are working with right now. Come on. Search Bold Business Podcast for the key terms at reddirection.com or your preferred podcast listening app.
How do you bend time to make it all fit? because in that relentless pursuit, one of the things that will always happen are the same 24 hours in every day. And so I'll bet that's something that you have to overcome with people in conversation a lot and to let go and to just face it. Let's dig into that a little bit.
So I'll tell you my calendar here. So I structure everything around the calendar. I believe where your money is, your heart is. And if you show me your calendar, I can show you your priorities. I believe that with all my heart. So the very first thing I do is my faith every single morning. Every single morning, I have an hour to 2 hours of my time where I'm spending time meditating, where I'm spending time praying, where I'm spending time working on myself. I have podcasts I listen to with various people that speak into my mind, to speak in my heart. I use scriptures. I read meditations. I was reading Marcus Aurelius this morning, his book Meditation, literally to think about this mind. So it's quiet. So this morning, I literally woke up wide awake at 4:30. At 4:30 in the morning, some people say it's too early. I woke up at 4:30. I spent 2 hours. It was 6:30, and my wife wakes up. She goes to the gym. Right. Today is not my physical exercise day. I do that 4 days a week. Today's a rest day. I've got a hunt coming up, so I'm trying to keep my body safe for that big hunt that's coming up, which I'm going to burn a lot of time on. Then after that, got up and I work with my family. My kids are there. I'm feeding them breakfast. I'm enjoying my family in that moment. Then I'm here at work. I believe wherever you're at, you should be there. So now I'm at work until the day's over. But what I do in addition to that, Jess, on a daily basis is every year I plan out the times when I'm taking off. I literally don't work. I purposely take off a month every year throughout the year, plus all the major holidays. Plus, I refuse to work on Saturdays and Sundays. And I refuse to do anything external focus out of my company on a Monday, which means that I'm literally only working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. Okay. Fridays occasion is my wrap up day, but Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I'm literally only producing about 130 days a year. And somebody says, how in the world can you make money producing 130 days a year? How can you keep everything in harmony? Let's take us back in recent history. I had the privilege of consulting literally hundreds of medical professionals. Let's use a dentist as an example. Various parts of our country, the regulations required them to mandatorily close their businesses, we call them practices, for up to 16 weeks, depending on the state. And during that 16 weeks, those dentists, many of them would continue to pay their employees. They continue to have to pay their bills, but they had zero revenue coming in because they couldn't physically involve with the clients. What happened after that was magical. And it's a lesson that I've never forgotten. It's a lesson I want everybody who's listening to think about. After that period of time, they were closed for 16 weeks. They came back into their business and they became hyper focused on one thing. And that was, how do we get all of our patients caught back up and how do we provide them excellent dental care? And how do we do so in a way that we don't kill ourselves? So where they took off 16 months, it created a compression system to where now what they were doing in a year, they now did it in much more constrained period of time, 8 months. In every client case that we had the privilege of consulting with, they made more money in that 8 month period of time than they did the previous 12 months prior to COVID. Why? They got rid of the noise. They got rid of the distractions. They got rid of everything externally. And they said, hey, we're going to focus on this one thing. So now to your root question, if I want my fittest, like right now, I'm trying so hard to build a six pack. I've never had one in my life. I'm a short, fat kid. I've never had a six pack. So I'm like, that's my number one thing. I'm working on a six pack. That's my focus. My wife and I, my kids, my family, my faith. I have everything focused down. Even my business is hyper focused. Whenever I get that granular and that singular in nature, and I look at my 24 hours a day, I can do whatever I want to do. And I still have time to play Call of Duty and beat my 13-year-old and just in Call of Duty have fun with him and beat my 17-year-old Madden football and have fun. So it's becoming laser focused on what we truly desire to achieve in our lives. And the rest of the world just let them do what they're going to do, man. Let me get hyper focused. And when I do that, we can produce at a higher level. And that, friends, is the secret to the difference between a decamillionaire or a billionaire and the average American. I don't spend time watching TV. I read books. I read a book a week on top of all this. I have fun because I'm hyper focused on achieving what I believe I need to do.
I'm super excited that you have a network around you. And your 5Fs are aligned in such a way you've already done this work to have that. Somebody's just starting out. Somebody's hearing this for the first time. Can they do it without the support of those closest to them in their everyday life?
Absolutely. But let's talk about how. I love to shoot my bow and arrow. And so I want you to picture this in your mind's eye, for those of you who are listening versus watching, I want you to picture the Olympics where we have our archers that go out and you can see them where they pull their bow back and they have their arrow strung. And now they're looking down range and there's a target. And in that target, there's a bullseye. It's typically red in color, maybe black in color. And that represents 10 points for our Olympic athletes. What they do is they zone out everything except for that little red dot. They don't even see the other lines on the target. They're solely focused on that one thing. And whenever they release the arrow, there are conditions like winds and things that may push the arrow slightly off, but they've learned a simple principle: aim small, miss small. So if you don't have the support group around you and you feel like that right now life is throwing you a basket of sour eggs, whatever it is you feel like, let's find that one thing you can focus on, one thing. And let's aim at that one little thing. Maybe it's in your business, maybe it's in your faith, maybe it's in your fitness. Let's find one little thing and then get this. It's not hard. Take one step, and then take the next step. The next day, take the next step. See, what just separates the winners from those who don't win is dedication, and most of all, is discipline. It's simply doing the boring, simple things over and over. It's kind of like those of us who like to invest in the market. We know that a dollar invested is going to compound over a period of time because it's simple and boring. The same is true in your life. So if you're starting from scratch and you're saying, okay, I now know what I want to achieve, maybe I want to just get in shape. I want to drop 10 pounds, or whatever it may be for you. Put that goal out there and then make a pathway that you can take one little step. And as you are going to victoriously achieve that goal, you're now going to say, you know what, if I could do that, I can now do these two things. And if I can do those two things, I can do these three things. And if I can do these three things, you know what, I can do these four things. And then as you're along this journey, here's what happens. You may not have that support network now, but as you begin moving to that destination, your support network shows up because we as a species love to see each other succeed. We love to see each other move forward. We love to work with each other. And so as you drive forward to that friend, you will have that support network and you'll be amazed in a year or two through those daily dedicated steps what your life can achieve.
I'll add one thing to that because I love everything that you're saying, Justin. And I would say there was a stat I learned recently, and you may have heard this before. You are 29% more likely to succeed when you surround yourself with people as smart and definitely smarter than yourself. And guess what? We may not be able, just by being in the room with them, not talking to them, not anything. So when you're, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. So if we don't have the support network, what I would say, because I have been there, had to build my own, wish I knew this stat, I would have picked a podcast. To your point, I would have picked a book because I don't necessarily, I might not be able to get in the same room with people for whatever reason. I may have too many things that keep me out of those rooms, but I can still be around it. I can still bring it to myself. I can still be intentional until what you said comes true. I got this. And then I can be in that room. I got this. I can be around that person because that way those people can find us too. How are you doing? I want you to succeed. Oh, look what you're doing. And it creates this amazing connection. And yes, we are all in it and we have our own path. And yes, we cannot do it together. And yes, we will all have our own challenges that may seem similar from the outside, but are very unique to our each individual path. And I think when we think about all of those things, there's something comforting to know your business problems and my business problems have been similar over the years, even though they look very different. And how cool is it that people cared about us to help us go, it's very unique to you, but I'm here with you. Oh, I might know a person I can have you talk to. Oh, this is really incredibly important. I have been here, and this is incredibly important for you to know.
At the end of the day, all of our problems fall into few categories. Even though they're different paths, we face the same resistance. We face the same resistance. And I reminded of a story mom told me. She says, son, you've always been this way. And I don't think it's uniquely me. I've seen it throughout everybody I had the privilege to talk to. And I imagine that you probably have a story in your life where you wanted something so bad you could taste it. Mine was at the age of I was 12 months old and I wanted black olives on the table. So I reached my hand to get the black olives and I had not eaten supper yet. So she gently touched my hand and said, no. So then I stuck my wrist out trying to get the olives on my wrist. So then what I do, I stuck my whole head in the thing trying to get the olives. That is the determination that we ultimately have. So if you have that vision, if you know what you want to achieve, let's say you want to lose 10 pounds of weight, let's say you want to double the size of your business, whatever it is, you want to make new friends, whatever it is, if you get crystal clear in that vision and you write it down, crystal clear. So I always say, write down your vision statement. Write it down. I have vision statements. I have them in my truck where I can look at it in my truck. I have them in my mirror in the bathroom. I have them on my computer. My family sees it. They laugh at me but I see it consistently because it reminds me of what I'm shooting for. So if I put that vision statement out, then I have to know that every step I take is going to be faced with resistance. But then I have to ask myself a simple question: how bad do you want it? My mom used to say it this way: are you willing to clean a horse stall out with a fondue fork to reach your goals? Think about that. That's a job. I've never done it, but that's a job. I was talking to a group of high schoolers this last week, high school kids, a very elite school. And I said, hey, let me ask you a question. What's the biggest number that you want to achieve in your life? And we were talking about money. They were talking about money, and there was the whole premise of the conversation. They said, we want to get, and they named $20 million. I said, great, $20 million. What if I told you I'll give you $20 million, but now you have to go serve hot dogs at a hot dog stand in the big city? This is a rural town in a big city for the next 20 years of your life. Every day of the week, you have to show up, rain, shine, sleet, or snow. It doesn't matter. You have to get out there and you have to serve hot dogs, and you have to have a happy attitude. You have to say, hey, you want slaw with that, or whatever else you're going to say. You have to ask that.
In Seattle, we'd say, "Want some cream cheese with that?"
The cream cheese.
The
Oh,
Seattle
you know what
dogs
they
are cream
said
cheese based.
is no one raised their hand. No one said, no, I would never do that for $20 million. I'm like, then you don't want the money bad enough. That was the goal of that conversation. So we can bring it back to our particular circumstance we're talking about. What do you want to achieve? Can you see it? Can you taste it? Can you feel it? Have you touched that particular dream? And if you have, how bad do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice? And if you're not willing to leave it on the line, embarrass yourself, lose everything in the pursuit of that, then friends, oftentimes it will not come true.
You said something really interesting a few minutes ago, and I want to circle back to it because the more I talk about this, the more I find people that are doing this, which I love. Tell me about your internal Mondays.
So after the weekend with the family, I purposely disconnect everything from business. I try to take a social media sabbatical. I actually don't even look at it. My team controls all my social media, but I try not to look at it. I try to get disconnected. So now here I am on Saturdays and Sundays playing on the farm. We have a little small hobby farm here in East Tennessee. And so we just play. We're a family unit. We travel, we goof off. And we go to church. We just do different things. My favorite afternoon is Sunday afternoon. My wife and I either sit on the front porch and listen, watch this. We can't see any houses. We see the mountaintops around us. We just get out there and talk. We read a book. We just sit out there together and talk. I love that particular mind. So now, whenever I come in, I literally have not thought about my company on Saturdays and Sundays. So now here it is Monday morning, and there's a team that is running the company. They're moving forward, but they need my help in certain things that they require me or they ask me to do, which is fine. We're trying to get the company moving forward. So I literally cannot just take me personally. Others can do this. I can't. I personally have to take my Mondays and look internal. I now look at my KPI dashboards. I look at what worked the previous weeks. I look at where we're at in relation to our goals. I have the team give me reporting. Many times on Mondays, I do my encouragement session. I believe that a CEO should be talking with every employee on a regular basis, no matter the size of the company. I firmly believe that. So I purposely spend time with my team. I want to know what's going on in their life. How can I minister them? How can I help them? How can I encourage them? Is there a client that needs some help? Let me know about it. What's going on this week? What are the challenges this week? So I'll take my Monday and it's all internally focused versus how do I make sure I want it internally focused where my team, my system, my processes, where we're headed. I want to scale it. We always do 90-day sprints. I teach our clients to go 90-day sprints. So I want to see if we're moving to that direction, right? So then once Monday's done, it may be a 2-hour day. It may be a 12-hour day. I don't care. Whenever it's done, now I go into external focus. That's where I do things like we're doing today on a podcast, or I'll go speak on stage, or I'll write something for my new book that I'm writing, or I do a number of other things. I work with one-on-one coaching clients, or I speak to our group coaching calls on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Friday is once again not external. It's me wrapping up the loose ends, and it's me making sure my team going back in and saying, hey, where do you need help from me? What do you need help on? What can we do to close this week out powerfully? So I literally only produce, if you will, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. What I've learned is by being super hyper focused that Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and not being distracted by the internal focus of the company and not being distracted by all the other things in my life, that allows me to scale exponentially. And that's what allowed me to take a company. I took my company on December 17th, 2017 from scratch, no clients. 49 months later, had an 8-figure exit, getting laser focused, hyper intensive. outworking everybody else during those 3 days, and then let go and let God. Let go and just say, you know what? I did the best I could this week. Next week's another day. I'm now going to refresh my mind. I'm going to focus on my family. I'm going to focus on my friends. I'm going to focus on everything else during that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I call my Mondays my present retreat, right? Retreat. Take a step back. Are we on track? Are what needs to be communicated? How can I show up differently? What is the feedback and the pulse that I'm seeing? But it's also that pulse piece. Where are we at? Who needs some extra help? Somebody has asked for something outside of our regular process because they know that they can. And that's something I hear you saying too when you're saying encouragement sessions. I'm going to have to use your encouragement session and add that to my vocabulary, Justin. I appreciate that because that also is what happens. It could be 2 hours, it could be 12 hours, and it's worth it because that time is where the reprioritization occurs. That time is where any sort of miscommunication that is going on can be identified so that during production, so that during the wrap ups at the end of the week, whatever needed to be gathered could be gathered so the right questions can be asked for that movement. And I appreciate when I hear other people picking that day and what that day looks like and how it fits into their bigger picture. Because in your 5Fs, it sounds like you do one intentional step every day.
One of the challenges that somebody might have listened is I said, Justin, that sounds good and dandy in your business, but it'll never work in mine. And that's the exact same thing I told my coach when he said, this is the way you're going to allow your life. And I can remember fussing. My coach and I had a strong relationship. We would actually authentically, there were times whenever I was like, you lost your love of mine. And I'm intense. I'm an intense person. And he was intense. And we would come to bullheaded together, just charging each other. And he finally said, well, you don't want your vision long enough because here's why. I remember like it was yesterday, Jess. He said, Justin, you're the most self-centered person I've ever met in my life. If you honestly believe that your company cannot operate around you with 1 day extra a week, you're that self-centered and you don't have a company and you'll never you never reach your dreams. And as I've now coached business owners from those who build swimming pools, to those who work on cars, to those who do HVAC, to the attorneys, to the CPAs, you name it. Once they realize that, hey, look, you can have a day to work on your business. You can have that day.
That's how you become the CEO, isn't it, Justin? Totally and completely. Step into it, people. Step into it. I'm on board with you, all in on that one. And we all have challenges, to your point. And so that means you said, are you willing to lay it on the line? I will tell you, it is bold to face those challenges and look at them. So I want to know from you, what makes it bold to view the challenges that we are facing differently, to show up to them in a new way that we have never done before?
I think life has a way of bringing us to that point, whether we like it or not. And life has a sense to humble us. For me personally, it has a sense to bring me to the end of myself where I realize that as long as I keep using my own wisdom, I'm not going to be able to move it to the direction I want to go. So now whenever I'm coaching people and they run into this position where they need to make a bold decision, I literally would take a circle and I'll draw it on the board, on the whiteboard, on the tablet and show it on the screen. I'll say everything we know to be true is within this circle right now. This is our life right now. And what we're doing presently is not yielding the outcome. We agree on that. Yes, yes. Okay, we all agree on that. So we need to make a decision that's going to move us differently, which means that we need to introduce a new piece of information to our framework we never thought about before, a new syntax. And when we do this, it's going to create a ripple effect. It's going to feel uncomfortable. I tell whenever people are saying, hey, Goodbread, we want to hire you and your team for coaches. I'm like, look, the very thing that we say that doesn't sit with your mind, that's what you need to do. The very thing which like they've lost their mind, that's what you need to do, not the stuff that you feel good about. So your question around what do we need to do to move boldly toward our desire, it has a way whenever we take a step back and we swallow our pride and we look internally and say, okay, what we know right now is not working, period. The boldness could position itself in a position where we say, you know what? My wife and I'll give you a real story. We wanted to achieve this. My coach said, he goes, you got to change your life. We sold a 5,000 square foot house. We sold the nice cars. We moved into a little double wide mobile home that had rats in it. We tied the goats up to the back porch. Went out and bought used cars. We put ourselves on a $60,000 a year budget whenever we had 3 kids at home trying to homeschool them full time because we made a commitment that she didn't want to work outside the home. My commitment to my bride. You never have to work. She wanted that. Cool. I'm going to honor my man. I'm going to honor my commitment. We sacrificed and we lived on beans and love and duct tape, man, for years. Try to literally duct taping the sides of the car together. In fact, whenever our company received the Southeastern Forbes Leader Award, top financial firm in the Southeast, that same day, My wife's car is stuck in the driveway because it's in the mud, stuck in the driveway. We had no driveway, we had no gravel, no concrete, stuck in the driveway. And I get a phone call while I'm with my highest network clients. I'm like, my wife's car is stuck in the driveway. He said, what do you mean stuck in the driveway? We sold our house. We're living in this little double wide trailer. He goes, I don't know what I think about getting financial advice from somebody who lives in a double wide trailer. He doesn't have a driveway. He's still a good client. But what we were willing to do is sacrifice it all. So whenever you have this desire and you want to move boldly, I said, lay it on the line, sacrifice everything, swallow your pride, be willing to fail, knowing that you're going to fail. And every time you fail, you're going to fall straight on your face, but fall forward and get right back up and fail again and fail fast, fail often, because through failure, you're going to find the path that you ultimately want to be on, the path and the journey. And here's where it gets really crazy. Jess, I know you've seen this in your own life, and I know several listeners have also experienced this. Whenever you arrive at that destination, whatever it is, whether it's around your faith, your family, your friends, your finances, whatever it is, whenever you arrive at that, it's not the destination that mattered. It's the journey. It's like whenever I climb that mountaintop trying to find that elk and I get to the very top of it and I see a peak and I'm like, I just want to go up there. I just want to go there and see what it's like. And you're sweating like a dog when you got packs on your back, you're climbing, you can't hardly breathe. You get up there and it's, wow, look at this. Okay, that was cool. It was the journey and the anticipation of reaching that summit. So friends, if you're going to do something bold, no retreats, no regrets, full surrender, burn the ships, know you're going to fail, don't worry about the scoffers, put your eyes on the mountaintop that you're trying to achieve, and brother, sister, charge hell with a water pistol, man. It's life. You can always make more money. You can't come back on your dreams. And I reached the point, Jess, and I've seen this more and more as I talk to people. I don't want to be, pick an age, 70, 80, 90 years old, and say, man, I wish I would have. I don't want that. What a failure to myself. What a failure to my children who's looking up to their dad to give an example. What a failure for my wife who's looking up to me as an example as we have in our relationship. She doesn't want it either. She wants the very best for our family. Who cares? Even if it doesn't happen, I'm going to do everything I can to reach that summit, whatever that summit is. Friends, whenever you live in that authenticity and you live in that faith and you step out with that belief, relentless belief, it's amazing. It's unbelievable what happens. It may not happen the next day. It may take 2, 3, 4, 5 years. As Tony Robbins says, we always overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10. It may blow our mind, but you're going to look back and you're like, dude, what a journey. It's been wild. It's crazy.
Every single time I have a conversation, I take away something that I want to share with 25 people. I know when you're listening to this podcast, you're also listening for that and will have something that you want to share. In the comments, I would like for you to engage with us. What is that thing that you want to tell 25 people from this program? Here's why it's important. It's important because, yeah, there are going to be how-tos. Yes, there are going to be steps. Yes, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I wrote that down. I wish I wasn't doing this and I could actually take action on that right now. But guess what? You're not. So engage right now, because that one thing you want to share with others will be the thing that you can figure out how to incorporate in your business, in your workflow, in your style tomorrow.
Wow! Jess hosts the Bold Business Podcast to provide insights for building a resilient, profitable business by deeply understanding your growth strategy, ensuring market relevance, and your company's future. It is bold to deeply understand your growth strategy with your host, Jess Dewell. Get more information about how to drive solutions and reset your growth mindset at reddirection.com. Thank you for joining us, and special thanks to our post-production team at The Scott Treatment.